Hello everyone, I'm here today to do the Read Your Country tag. The original creator deleted the channel, so I cannot link to it or anything, but I was tagged by Lauren by Reading with Macart, so I will link her down below. And thank you, Lauren, for tagging me. So let's get into the tag then. The first question is, what country are you going to talk about? And although I live in the Netherlands, I have read more Spanish books, and there are some of these questions that only apply to Spanish books for me. So I'm going to talk about Spain, which is the country I was born and raised in. The second question is, what is your favorite childhood book from your country? And I remember, well, there were several books, but the one that I think I remember the most is Memorias de una vaca by Bernardo Atxaga, which translates, I think it is translated to English, and the translation is Memories of a Basque Cow. And it's basically that. It's basically the author imagining what a cow thinks about on a daily basis. And there are things like, for example, they suddenly build a train track next to where the cow lives, so the cow is all confused and things like that. It was a lot of fun, and I really liked it. He also had another series of books called Bambulo, which is about a dog, which I also really liked. And actually I met the author and he signed my books, and I was like my highlight of my literary life when I was a child. The third question is, what is a book from your country that you read in school, primary or high school? And some that I remember really clearly to read was Chronicles of a Death Foretold. I think it's in English. The Spanish title is Crónica de una muerte, anunciada by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. And this was basically about this man in a village that everyone knew he was going to be killed by another person from the village, and we follow backwards what happened. And there has been recently several adaptations of that same story. There we have Man Tiger that I read recently, and we have The Death of Vivek Oji, which was out this year, which followed that same structure. But I remember reading that in school and really finding it interesting. And the other thing that I very clearly remember reading, because it was hilarious, it was not a book, it was some poems. So there were these two poets in Spain, Quevedo and Lope de Vega, and they were contemporaries, I think in the 16 or 1700s, and they had a very strong rivalry. So they were constantly writing very insulting poems about each other, and going back and forth to each other, and that was really funny to me, and that happened at that time. I don't know, it's always when you talk about classics, it tends to be like very serious and everything, and this was just the first time I realized that these very classical books from 300 years ago could be hilarious. So yeah, that was fun. The fourth question is, what is a book set in your favorite area of your country? So I don't know if this is my favorite area of the country, but I am from the north of Spain, and the north of Spain is very different from the rest of Spain, which is the general idea of people that people have of Spain. So I find that sometimes I appreciate the fact that books are set in the north, because normally most of them are in Madrid or Barcelona. So I read Patria by Fernando Aramburu a few years ago, last year, I don't remember exactly, but that was set in the Basque Country. I'm not from the Basque Country, but I'm close to it, and my mom is from the Basque Country, and she lived in the times when Patria is set. So Patria follows sort of the rise of the terrorist group ETA, which wanted the Basque independence. There were some things in the book that were a bit forced and just for extra drama, but I did like the atmosphere, and my mom indeed told me that it was quite accurate of how people acted at that time. So yeah. The fifth question is, what is a historical fiction book set in your country? And one that is really famous, I think, is The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón, and that is set in 1945 in Barcelona, so after our civil war, which ended in 1939. And yeah, that is basically about a child that his mom dies, and then he finds this book, and that book takes him to this secret library in Barcelona, and it's like a story within a story. It has a lot of similarities to The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. There are some differences, but it's that same vibe, I will say. And I really liked it when I read it. I don't know what I would think about it now, but I really liked it when I read it. The sixth question is, what is a classic book from your country? And I think the classic of the classics of Spain is Don Quixote by Cervantes. I mean, he's in our money, so he's very, very well regarded. And I have to say, with a reason, Don Quixote is considered as the first novel of the Western world, and it is it follows Don Quixote, who is an old man that has read a lot of cavalry books, and he thinks he's a knight, so he goes with his horse around Spain, trying to find his princess, who according to him needs to be saved, although she doesn't. And he fights all these magical things in his mind, which are actually not real, so like the windmills that he thinks they are giants, things like that. And it's very, very funny, and I would recommend to read it, because I thought it was really funny, and it's translated into many, many languages, so it shouldn't be hard to read. So yeah, that is a classic that I would really recommend from Spain. The seventh question is, what is a book from your country that you haven't read but would like to read? And I don't have a specific book for this, but there are several authors that I would really like to read more of. So as I said, for example, before, some of my favorite books when I was a child were from Bernardo Atxaga, and I know that he also has adult books, but I have not read them, so I think that I would really be interested in reading some of his adult books. The eighth question is, what are some of your favorite authors or books from your country? And an author that I have read quite a few books from, and I enjoyed most of them, is Rosa Montero. She writes a lot about female characters that are strong, and they defy the rules of society. So yeah, she has written both fiction and non-fiction. One that I really liked as non-fiction was La ridícula idea de no volver a verte, which means the ridiculous idea of not seeing you again. And this is a non-fiction about Marie Curie, and she shows how an amazing woman she was, how humble she was, but also it shows that as amazing as Pierre Curie was for letting her do her job and appreciating her as a scientist, she was still the one taking care of the children at home and all that, and he didn't help much with that. So yeah, this one was a really good one, but there are several of hers that I really liked, so it's someone that if you can find her books, I think some of them are translated, so if you can find them, I would recommend them. So now it has come the time to tag people, and if you have done this tag, forgive me, but if you haven't, I would really like to know your answers, and The first one I'm going to tag is Jotsa by Jotsnot Buscapades. I would love to know your answers about all these things. The next person I'm going to tag is Pastori Time, because I think they're living in Wales, so it will be interesting to know their answers about Wales as well. And then I'm also going to tag Leo from A Little Book Life. So yeah, and those are the people I'm tagging in this tag. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you have read any of the books I have mentioned, or some books that you would love to share about your country. And until next video, bye!